If you look at that question, are you with me? The question has two parts. See, especially at the master's level, we submit our questions, we submit marking scheme. They send people from NUC every 4 years to come and do accreditation. When they do accreditation for every course, they will spend 1 week. If they are accrediting our MSc accounting, they will spend 1 week. We will submit question paper and marking scheme for the 4 years that they are accrediting, that they are looking at in determining whether they should give us accreditation. And somebody will take us up. If I prepare a marking scheme, he will say, this question that I asked these students is in 2 parts. This is why students fail. I'm teaching you exam, whatever. Look at that question. The question says, advise Duro Simi. That's 1. And identify other factors that should be taken into consideration to determine if the venture will be worthwhile. Somebody will go and start answering the question and just be saying availability of, he will just list, and he will think he has answered the question. By the time you look at my marking scheme will be different from what you have done. You say, why did I fail? Why did I fail? Management accounting is a course that is very easy for somebody to fail if you don't take your time. So the question was advise you. That's for this one will have its own mark now. Like assuming I wanted to allocate like 5 marks to just this number 4 part of the question, or 8 marks. This could be 3 marks. And by not saying anything about it, you have lost 3 marks. You have lost 3 marks. Just like the one in question 2 too. You know, I asked a question, I said, what would be the exception? You've given this advice. What would be the exception? Meaning that you don't want the person to take that advice. What are the things that will make you say, okay, I've given you this advice, so don't produce. But if this and this occurs, then you can jettison my advice. That's the question I asked. So please learn to answer to what is necessary. Don't rush into answering questions, especially when it comes to management accounting, so that you will not come to my office and say, Madam, bring out the script. I know I'm supposed to pass, and I did not pass. That will not be your portion. No. So, advice. Our advice is that 1.
Amen.
Our advice is that 1, based on the calculations of expected income of 5,180,000, if advertising is undertaken, the venture gives an income that is greater than the lost income in salary and interest of 5,080,000 for Duro Simi. So, however, other factors must be considered to determine if the venture will be worthwhile. So your advice is based on it is greater. So, well, he may take it. But you have also added, in this case, you have added that it is necessary to consider other factors. Why are we saying it is necessary to consider other factors? Can somebody just tell me? Why is it that the advice given to Duro Simi is not straightforward? It's not decisive that, oh yeah, drop your work. Go and this thing, I've answered that in A. You already seen it, so let me not even stop. The simple reason is because the difference between the calculated expected income is so close, so the lost income for him in salary and interest, one is 5,180,000, the other one is 5,080,000, just 100,000 naira. So, and business ventures are not things that you just, take up like that without sitting down to look what you are really, really going to gain from it. So because of the proximity of the 2 incomes, the lost income, the expected income from the sales, there are other factors that will be important in taking the decision whether to go into the business venture or not. And let's look at what are those other factors. 1, the risk of undertaking the business. Every business is fraught with risk. Every business has uncertainties, which means variations can occur. You have budgeted that, yes, you are going to sell 15,000 units or sell 18,000 units if you do advert. But so many things can affect your profit forecast. You are not the one that holds the future in your hands. None of us is God. We just predict. And a prediction is a likely event. Remember, likely event. It may or it may not occur. So he should take into consideration what is the risk of undertaking this business. What if there's a negative variation in it? You know, is there a possibility that this thing will remain as I've expected it? Or is there even a possibility of growth? It doesn't always have to be negative. So those are the things that he will take into consideration. If there's a possibility of growth in the business, then you say, okay, fine, the difference may be very close now, but because I anticipate that this business will grow in future, then I'm still going to go into it, despite the fact that the difference between the two is just 100,000. So he has to identify the risk. He has to identify the risk involved. That's one factor. Two is job security. If he takes the other, I need to add, immediately after this, if I go to job security, I'm supposed to add the opportunity for growth of the business. Because I've mentioned it already, I didn't even know I didn't include it. For growth. So if the business is going to grow, then it's a factor. He may now decide to not look at the small difference, the small margin of 100,000, because he knows in future the business is very viable, it can grow. So opportunity for growth of the business, you know, will mean that the difference of or the margin, not difference. For now, is not very important in dissuading him. Taking the decision to go into the business venture. Okay, so that's it. So now the next point is job security. Job security. If he's looking at it, each of them stand on their own. No? Each of these factors stand on their own. Now, job security. What has job security got to do with the decision that Durosimi has to take? Now, if he's taking a decision, because remember, Durosimi is caught in between taking two decisions. His decision is either one, remain doing my job, be collecting my salary and my interest, or go into the business venture. Now, even if going into the business venture will yield a lower income than what he currently is taking, when he considers the factor whether job security will be there, you know, he will determine whether he should go into the business venture or not. If his job is not secure and maybe in his industry things are already shaking, it's better for him to bail out now and, you know, go into the business venture, because it means that the assurance that the salary will keep on being enjoyed is not there. Now, I brought up this example now. Is an example I've always used for marginal costing technique. You might be looking at it and saying that, okay, what do you call it? We are doing a management, accounting, and control. What's the implication? Yes, there's an implication. We are looking at an individual, Durosimi, but actually we might actually be looking at a company, and we are looking at, okay, you want to venture into a new line of business. You want to venture into a new line of business as a company. The one you're already doing is earning this. The new line may not really be earning much. But what's the assurance that the one that you are currently doing, the lifespan, the going concern of that business will still remain? Remember that companies like Kodak, you know, went into extinction because they did not evolve. They still stayed with something that was dying out. Meanwhile, people were venturing into new businesses, and the one they were staying with, as at that time, they were making so much money. Kodak, the manufacturing space of Kodak, where they manufacture Kodak in the US, was an entire town. Everybody in that town was employed by Kodak. But because they did not evolve, you know, one day the thing just died, bam. So what's the security of the venture as a company that you are doing now, of the one you are doing now? Despite the fact that the new one you want to venture into may not yield a higher profit now, you have to look at future prospects of the one you are currently doing, not even only the future prospects of the new one you are going into. So that's the relationship between this job security and, you know, let's remove it from it being an individual. Let's take it now to company level. You look at what's the mainstay of what you are currently doing. Then there are other business factors also that need to be considered. Possibility of continued demand for the product, like which I've heard, continued supply of raw materials, availability of labor for the new venture. Now, I'm talking about for the new venture. You want to go into it, future growth, continued even maintaining the demand, being able to continue, you know, not to go and do a venture that it will just suddenly die tomorrow. So this one is not the same thing as growth. Growth is there too, but possibility of even sustaining the business as it is. Will people continue to demand for the product, even if it is not growing? Even as it is now, would there be continued sustained demand? Will you be able to access raw materials? Will you be able to access labor, you know, so that the business will not just die out because of any of these other business factors? And the last but not the least is alternative investment opportunities for funds to be used for the business venture. And there, can he come up with other, you know, opportunities where he will commit this 6 million naira that he has saved? So if you were to advise Durosimi and you want to tell him other things that he should look into, these are the things that you would advise him. Please note something, that all these factors that I mentioned, I was speaking directly to the situation of Durosimi. So please always note it. Speak to what you have been asked. Don't beat about the bush general and miss the point. A lot of people, when they answer this question, and which people have been doing before, you know what they will write? They will just go and start writing. They will write availability of raw material, continued demand, availability of labor. Maybe they will add just one more thing. As far as they are concerned, they've answered the question. If that is what you wrote for me, what do you think the person will get, assuming this number 4 is 10 marks? What do you think that person will get by writing continued demand, supply of raw material, availability of labor? The person will get 1 or 2 over 10. I'm telling you. The person will get 1 or 2 over 10 because you did not speak to the question. So please note that, you know, for future whatever, I don't want a situation where people will not get what they are expected to get when it's not that you don't know it. So I don't know if there are any questions so far. I would have loved to share another question. I think I have another question I've prepared, but I don't know, I'm a bit tired already. Let me see. Okay, I can just send the question to you. That one is using CVP analysis. This is a question, and I've already done the solution. I will just send it to the governor. It's something that you can go through yourself. Very simple. It's just CVP analysis. You know, different scenarios if you want to improve profits and all that. So Abiodun Michael has raised his hand. You can talk or mute yourself and talk. Abiodun Michael.
Thank you for the well-delivered lectures. I can.
The audio is bad though. Can't hear you. Abiodun Michael, we did not see anything, no. Governor, please let me tell him, oh, write a chat. You should put it in chat. You should put it in chat. You should put it in chat.
Deputy, communicate your question in chat, please.
Okay, it's even deputy.
Yes, it's the deputy governor.
Okay. We have one chat already. Okay, Abiola Ogunleye, say thank you, Ma. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Question, addition.
Sorry, my quick one.
Damola?
Sorry, my quick one. Concerning the job security, I thought of it when you were asking for the exception that, okay, maybe a threat to employment will make him have to go into that business venture. But I don't look at it from a flip side that doesn't have a choice. It will not be a thing to be considering, because if there's a threat to your job, then you really don't have a choice and you just have to go into a business venture at that point. So is there really a decision to be made at that point where it's like it seems you don't have a choice? You just have to do it.
We are not saying that this is the decision you will take. We are saying that this is what you will consider to make a decision. I don't know whether you get me. By talking about job security, we are not saying this is the decision you will take. We are saying you will consider the security of your job. That is what will help you to take a decision. So when you look at your job security, is your job secure? If your job is secure, you will still consider and say, okay, let me wait for another, let me wait for another important, a more lucrative business venture for now. Let me just collect my interest and my salary. But if after considering your job security, if it is not secure, then it means that you may even have to bail out now. So what we are saying is, what are the factors to be considered? So that's it. Job security is a factor to consider. And depending on what the job security says, then it will make a decision. Well, I've not said this is a decision that to be made. I'm saying these are the factors to be considered in taking decision. So like you said, if the job is not secure, then of course there's nothing, you will know how to bail out. So job security is a factor. Do you understand?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So any other question? Any other question? Any other question? Okay.
Yes, ma. Please, can I come in?
Yes, please. Yunus.
Yes, ma. Please, in this scenario, if you check out all the conditions that you have to consider before advising Durosimi, I think they are all about, they have a lot to do with likelihood. So in this scenario now, being a boss, then what do you advise us to tell Durosimi? Because it's likelihood you are not too sure that
I already told you that that's where I started from. Let me go back now. That's where I started from now. Okay. What you should tell Durosimi now is that, well, one, you should look at the fact that the margin is very, very small. So you are now telling him that what you are to do will be based on a consideration of these other things. Based on a consideration of these other factors. So you will now have to ask him, when he now gives you a response, or you have a response as regards what is the risk of the business, you have a response as regards what's the opportunity for growth, you have a response from him as regards job security, you have a response from him as regards alternative investment opportunities, then you will be able to tell him what to do with finality. So, but based on not having a response on all these things, you tell him that, it's that the margin is small, he needs to consider all these other things first. So if he comes to you with information, what you have simply said is that other things are still important to be considered before taking the decision. That's your position and advice. Other things are important. Yes, now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, for Abiodun, who is saying, can we include government policy as one of the other factors? Don't let it stand alone. Remember, look at number 4, other business factors. We can expand it to other business or economic factors that will affect the business. So all that one is summed up under one umbrella. It should not stand on its own. All of them are the same weight. Would there be continued availability of labor? Would there be supply of raw material? Would there be government policy in future that can affect? All these things are business, economic, or social factors. In fact, based on what you have said now, I'm going to change that D because we keep on learning every day. I'm going to change it to include business, economic, social factors that must be considered, government policy. So all of them are under a particular, it's just under one point as far as I'm concerned. Under one point. Changing Who is that person that is talking? Oh, we can't hear you. Who is that person that is talking? Type your question. Type your question.
Hello, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am, I just want to ask, ma'am, what of if Duroshime is willing to take on the business venture on a part-time basis? Will it still be a basis to advise him to go ahead, considering exactly.
That is a basis that can come under alternative investment opportunities or management, employing, alternatives to him leaving his job. If he needs to employ a business manager to take control of the job, then the only thing he will come in is adding salaries that will be paid. That will reduce is part of his cost, so reduce his profit. So he will add that. Yes, so it can be considered. That's a good one. The possibility of handing over the management or running it on a part-time basis. Yes, the list is not exhaustive. This is a relevant one that you have said. When you say factors like COVID-19, how does that? What do you mean by COVID-19? I don't understand that COVID-19. No. They just put that as uncertainties. Nobody knows what will happen tomorrow. That one is a general thing that can affect everybody. So, unforeseen, yes. Unforeseen circumstances that, but if it is unforeseen, how will he consider it? If it's unforeseen, how will he consider it? If it's unforeseen, how will it consider it? Nobody knew about COVID-19. Please don't even bring that in. It is now that we are able to, talk in retrospect.
Hello, ma.
Yes, sir.
That unforeseen that I'm talking about, those are the things that could even cripple the business if he decides to leave his work and go into the business.
And what I'm saying is that unforeseen circumstances can happen to anybody. So if all of us should say unforeseen, the fact that you have even said unforeseen means that you don't even expect it. Unforeseen, things like natural disaster, COVID-19, pandemic, it's unforeseen, you don't know. So if you say unforeseen circumstance, nobody will do anything now. Nobody. You say, if I go and build it, there might be earthquake, you don't know. There might be tsunami, you don't know. You can't consider it. So when you say unforeseen, how can you determine it? Unforeseen, you say like COVID-19, is there anybody that knew anything about COVID-19? So it's not relevant, please. It's not relevant to advising him. unforeseen circumstance affect everybody. Fire, natural disaster, thunderstorm, flood, affects everybody and everyone.
But
So,
hello, ma.
Yes.
Regarding this COVID-19, I have a different perspective. I don't know,
Tell
but
us about it.
The purpose of this cosmetic cream, I think it's all these things they use for makeup, I'm assuming. But is it not when you have a place to go that you will use makeup? Most of the people are working from home. So I don't think in the next 2-3 years, she will be able to have market for a product.
What you will put is not COVID-19. We have already put it in other business factors. See it there. Continued demand for the products. So whether it is COVID-19, whether it is another company comes, competition comes and brings in a better product, the possibility, don't speak to COVID-19. Speak like an accountant, Uncle. What you are looking at as an accountant is what is the possibility of continued demand for the product. So because we are in COVID-19 era, it can be one of the things to consider. Say, with this COVID-19, so one dancing that is outside now, with people, with this my projection of 15,000 units, is it still valid? Do you understand? So, but what you write there is not COVID-19. It's not what is possibility of continued demand. What are everything that can affect continued demand? That's all. It's already there. Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm fine. I understand.
All right. So, having said that, I beg, please, I want to go and eat my dinner. Unless you have anything else you want to add.
She's my auntie.
So, am I free to go?
Yes,
you can
you've
go
done
have
very
your
well,
leader.
ma.
Free, ma.
Thank you, ma.
You are free to go eat your dinner, ma.
Thank you.
No, ma.
Ma, can I